Welcome to Whiskey Wise Guys, where Bob, my giant newfie poo with the judgment of a sommelier and the hair of a midlife rock star, distill down the facts and fallacies of spirits and libations. Today we're talking about tequila, and not the kind of frat house fuel that ends in karaoke, court dates, and questionable tattoos, but the sort that whispers legacy, not lawsuit. Specifically, Don Julio Añejo, a tequila that deserves better company than a salt shaker and a lime wedge, and a story that starts long before your worst spring break memory. That's for sure. Today we're talking about tequila that's often misunderstood as that tragic byproduct of bad spring breaks and sugar-ridden forgetfulness, waking up next to a guy who calls himself Cricket with a K, or those kind of amnesic decisions where you wake up in some foreign zip code, and then 3 months later she calls and says, "I'm pregnant." No, that's not the tequila we're talking about. Let's start with the origin story. The blue Weber agave, tequila's one true source. It's a can plant, not some fly-by-night botanical influencer. Crassulation acid metabolism, if you want to sound smart at a cocktail party. Which basically means it photosynthesizes at night, like a prepper who has trust issues. It takes between 8 and 12 years to mature. That's longer than most online influencer careers. By harvest, the piña, the swollen starchy heart of the plant, weighs over 100 kilograms. That's 220 pounds. And long before tequila had a label problem or a PR problem, the Mesoamericans were fermenting agave into pulque as a sacred elixir, a way to commune with the gods, a way to touch the cosmos and discover the mysteries in the universe. Then came the 16th century. The Spaniards arrived with muskets, rosaries, and copper stills. They brought the Bible, a healthy appetite for empire, and inadvertently, the future of tequila. The result was not only tragic destruction, it was also distillation, a remarkable act of cultural fermentation. One people's ritual meeting another people's method. The sacred met the scientific, and mezcal, or now tequila, was born. And of course, there's a little two different things, but we're not going to get into that today. Fast forward a few centuries, and Don Julio Gonzalez enters the story. In 1942, at the age of 17, while most teenagers are experimenting with haircuts and, again, ill-advised tattoo, Don Julio began distilling in the highlands of Jalisco. Not because he wanted to mass market a bottle, but because he was bored with mediocrity. Youthful curiosity drove innovation. The highlands, the volcanic soil of the cooler climate, forced the agave to grow slower, struggle more, and with most things, with hardship comes complexity. And now a note to your body. Pure tequila, even Don Julio Añejo, is made from 100% blue Weber agave. That matters, not to just snobs, but to science. Agave contains agavins, non-digestible sugars that act as prebiotics. According to a study in 2016 of the Journal of Agriculture and Food and Chemistry, they don't spike your blood glucose and may even promote gut health. It also is gluten-free, low in carbs, and has fewer carcinogens than most dark spirits. That's fewer chemical culprits that turn your morning after into migraines with a pulse. That's for sure. So no, tequila isn't healthy, but if you're going to sin, this is the one that's least likely to report to your pancreas and least likely to beat up your liver. What sets Don Julio Añejo apart from its friends in the bottom shelf that taste more like diesel fuel and regret is that Don Julio Añejo is aged 18 months in American white oak barrels. That's not long by some standards, of course, but just long enough to trade Blanco's aggressiveness with a bit of complexity. The result is a spirit that opens with caramelized agave and vanilla, glides through dried fruit and butterscotch, and finishes with a whisper of oak and memory. It's not loud, but it's not soft. It's self-assured, like someone who reads Marcus Aurelius and still knows how to salsa. And unlike waking up with Cricket with a K, it won't ghost you, lie about its income, or call you 3 months later and tell you she's pregnant.